take antibiotics.
Because they're bacterial. Okay, so human bacterial diseases, talk about some common human bacterial pathogens. I'll tell you a story about bacteria and ulcers, and then we'll talk about some sexually transmitted diseases that are caused by bacteria. So tuberculosis, TB, has been evident in every recorded history ever since we've started recorded human history. We've noticed the bacteria in prehistoric mummies. King Tut had tuberculosis. And what it does is it afflicts your respiratory system. You only need about 10 bacteria cells to start the infection. Cases of tuberculosis have decreased over time, but there are resurgence in certain areas, particularly in Africa, and a lot of that has to do with social factors like poverty, crowding, homelessness. So, yeah. The treatment for it can be kind of expensive with the antibiotics. So people, they take the antibiotics, but they don't take it the way they're supposed to. For the recommended period. A lot of times it's 10 days. And so maybe day 7, they're like, I'm feeling better. I don't need to take this anymore. So then they stop taking the antibiotic, but they don't kill all the bacteria. So then that bacteria can mutate or adapt to the antibiotic, causing outbreaks of multi-drug resistance strands. So it makes it tougher to fight. So yeah, when you quit taking your antibiotics early, you're basically setting up the perfect conditions for those bacteria cells to become drug resistant. But it's a good thing we do have antibiotics too. I mean, it was roughly discovered within the last 100 years. But just know that without the invention of antibiotics, 20% of all children that were born died before the age of 5. And it's because they died of bacterial infections mostly. So. Yeah. So you can see what TB does is it kind of creates these little pockets or plaques inside the lungs. Okay, another example, biofilms and tooth decay. So I mentioned earlier in this chapter a biofilm, basically a community of different bacteria living together kind of in this polysaccharide matrix. And so this biofilm or plaque, what was I trying to say here? Formed mist cultures. Oh, I'm going to look up what I was trying to say there. Mist. I feel like that's a typo. I just feel like it's a typo. Sorry. Mixed. It's supposed to say mixed. Form mixed. Mixed cultures. So it's this complex community of different strands living together, and because of that, they're harder to treat. Bacteria can also cause ulcers. And this has just recently been discovered. So ulcers can be caused by inflammation of a bacteria called Helicobacter pylori. And when they get inflamed, it makes it really hard for, weird text there. I'll just tell you the story about my husband. Anyways, so my husband, for the longest of time, he couldn't eat roast beef, or he had a hard time eating bread. So when he would eat, we'd make roast beef, he would eat it, and then it would get stuck in his throat, and then he'd always have to have mellow yellow or something to push it down. Same with bread. You just eating bread, if it wasn't moist or wet enough, it would be get stuck in his throat. And actually, on one of our first dates, we went down to I think it's called Lakeside in Ortonville, and we both like ordered the Cuban, which is that hoagie with the pulled pork and the mayo sauce on top. So I don't know why he ordered it, but he did. And I didn't know about this condition at all. It's like one of our first times out, So he like bites into it and he's like, and he starts to choke. And he like took his Mellow Yellow or Mountain Dew, whatever, and he like drank it, but it like wasn't pushing down. So then he just he just like pushed off the table and ran away. And I'm like, what? And the waitress comes by and she's like, are you okay? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. So then he was like super embarrassed about it. I'm like, yeah. So anyways, so for literally the first 8 years since we've known each other, like this has always been a problem. Well, then last year, I'm like, you need to get this figured out. Like we just had like Larissa, so I'm like, get it figured out. We don't have to pay for it, because we met our deductible. And turns out, yeah, he had an ulcer right here, like right in his esophagus. So they scoped him, they saw the ulcer. It was caused by this bacteria. They gave him a heavy regimen of antibiotics and a few other things that he could take. And now we can eat roast beef in peace without, bolting. Yeah.
When I was like 7, I had to get a bunch of tests done and like blood work for like 3 months. I could barely breathe. It's because I had 3 ulcers from
Wow.
each pylori.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and it doesn't help that my husband takes ibuprofen every day too, which is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. So I'm pretty sure that, did not help his condition either. So, yeah. So here's a diagram of just that biofilm community, and that they can spread. Biofilms impact teeth, okay, drinking water. Like I think I mentioned, if you ever had anything come out of your faucet, that was probably a biofilm. Paper manufacturing, ship hulls. Biofilms grow on ship hulls and erode it. Food processing. Medical implants, that's a huge one. So when they get a hip replacement or some type of replacement, if there's just a small little community of bacteria, then it can form an infection, and then they actually have to go in and like redo the whole thing, and it can be pretty serious. Okay, moving on to sexually transmitted diseases. So the first one we're going to talk about is gonorrhea. So transmitted through sexual intercourse or sexual contacts with body fluids that are exchanged. It can also pass from mother to baby during delivery. And if it's left untreated, it can cause pelvic inflammatory or PID, which could possibly lead to being sterile just because of the inflammation that it causes. When I was in college, the new thing that kind of came out that was like popular among nerds was that they made like little plush toys of sexually transmitted diseases, and you can like Google them, and they're kind of cute. They're kind of cute, but my friend was kind of obsessed with them, and so she like ordered some. And then one time, she was like walking down the hallway, and she had gonorrhea in her hand, and she like chucked it at another girl. She's like, "I just gave you gonorrhea," and I was like, "Okay, all right." Yeah. So. All right, syphilis is another sexually transmitted disease, very destructive, caused by a spirochetes bacteria or helical-shaped bacteria. Again, transmitted through sexual intercourse or direct contact with an open syphilis canker sore. It can also be transmitted from mother to fetus, but it can really, really damage the fetus, cause problems to the heart, the eyes, and as well as the nervous system of the baby. And so syphilis, how it works, there's kind of like 4 stages. So first off, you get this appearance of a unnoticed sore or a canker sore. It looks like a blister, but it's actually highly infectious. Okay, and it takes a while to heal. Like they say, like roughly 3 to 4 weeks. I'm not mistaken on that one. And then it's marked by a rash or a sore throat in the mouth. And then the person goes into a latent period where they don't have any symptoms. It could last for several years, but the bacteria inside of them is still present. And the damage done by the bacteria is pretty evident. It can cause heart disease, mental deficiency, nerve damage, and loss of motor functions or blindness.
is more resistant?
Yes. Okay, a third type of sexually transmitted disease is chlamydia. So when you sequence chlamydia, genetically it is a bacterium, but it's more like a virus in its behavior. It's an obligate intracellular parasite, which means it needs a host, transmitted through vaginal, anal, or oral intercourse. Of course, Mrs. Oaks had to walk by. It is called the silent STD, because women, we don't tend to experience the symptoms until the infection has become established. And again, pelvic inflammatory disease could result. And you can see in this diagram here, you zoom in on the fallopian tube where this inflammation and scarring has built up from chlamydia infection, and the egg can't pass through. So then it can't get fertilized. Now your book has a table of bacteria or pathogens that cause diseases in humans, and I think on your homework it says like list 2. So you can like pick the ones that we took from the slides, or you can take a look at the table too. Your table, I mean, there's like 12. There's just a listing of it. They had diphtheria and typhoid and a few others that I'm not going to discuss. So, but the ones I do discuss, like those would be the only ones if I should quiz you on. That's what I mean. So you don't need to study the table, just if you want to list something different on your homework assignment, you sure can. All right, review. Which of the following bacteria species is transmitted through sexual intercourse?
Chlamydia.
D, chlamydia. Which of the following diseases is not caused by bacteria? B, the flu. Okay. Moving on to beneficial bacteria. So we'll talk about prokaryotes and how they help us recycle elements. Some symbiosis relationships between bacteria and eukaryotes. And then finally, bioremediation, how bacteria can help us kind of clean up our environment. Okay. So prokaryotes are involved in cycling of elements or nutrients, like decomposition. So bacteria, they're big decomposers. When things die, we have atoms that are locked up in that organism, and so these bacteria come and they break it down and recycle those elements so that they can be reused for other things. If things didn't break down, things would just keep piling up, and yeah, it was just, our world would be a weird place. I mean, if dead things never decomposed, geez, there's been over like a trillion humans in the Earth's history, so maybe it's 100 trillion. It's a really, really large number, so there would be a lot of bodies just everywhere. Fixation helps return elements to the environment and help organisms obtain elements. Fixation, what it does is it takes elements that are inorganic and converts them to organic. So carbon, the inorganic form is carbon dioxide, but the organic form would be like sugars. So we have bacteria that take in CO2 and they make sugars and oxygen as a byproduct, and that sugars can be eaten by other organisms and they can use it to make energy. So we use it for cellular respiration as well, the vice versa of it. Nitrogen. Our atmosphere is made up of 78% nitrogen gas. This nitrogen gas is unusable by a lot of organisms, but bacteria can take the N2 gas and convert it into nitrates and nitrites, and then plants can take in the nitrates and nitrites and use it to build DNA and protein and other macromolecules, and then we have animals that eat the plants and then they get their nitrogen. So, yeah. Symbiotic associations. So symbiosis just means that we have a close ecological relationship that are in direct contact with each other, and there's 3 types of symbiosis: mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism. Mutualism means both parties benefit from each other, and an example of that would be the bacteria in the soil and plants with nitrogen. So bacteria take nitrogen gas, convert it to nitrates and nitrites. Plants use the nitrates and nitrites to build molecules that they need. Commensalism is when one party benefits and the other party is not harmed, but it also does not benefit from each other. So bacteria are abundant. They're on every surface. You have bacteria that live on your skin. Your skin is basically New York City, where every, so often you get just new flora of bacteria that live on your skin. I mean, if you were to plate your skin, the bacteria you'd find today versus 6 months from now would be completely different. There's so many different species of bacteria on you, you don't even know it. I think if you remember, I think I said this in biology, but if you could make yourself invisible but leave the bacteria that's on your skin, like we would still see like a film of you. Okay. So, yeah, we have bacteria on our skin. They benefit from it, but they don't harm us for the most part. Parasitism. One party benefits, the other one is harmed. So just think of any bacteria infection. We also use bacteria and genetic engineering. This is a new section in this new edition. Bacteria are considered biofactories because we can take human genes and insert and integrate it into the bacteria, and the bacteria will read that gene and make that human protein. And we do this with insulin. This is actually how we make medication of insulin. We harvest it from bacteria cells. Okay. We can also do it with vitamins, enzymes, as well as antibiotics. So without them, we wouldn't be able to mass produce all of this stuff. And then finally, bioremediation. So bio means life, and then remediation means like remedy, to fix. So bacteria can help us remove pollutants from water, air, and soil. Sewage treatment plants use bacteria to clean up the sewage before it gets released into some body of water, most likely. Biostimulation helps us add nutrients to encourage growth of those microbes and help us degrade oil spills. So yeah, we can use bacteria to clean up sludge spills or oil spills. There are some restrictions, however, like if the oil spill should happen in a very, very cold environment, it doesn't work as well because bacteria, they're just not really into the cold environments. And then halo respiration, removal of toxic compounds from the soil. So. All right, that does it for chapter 28. So we got some review questions.
Remember the bathroom method?
Sure. Which of the following processes involves the removal of toxic compounds from the environment using a bacterial species? Bioremediation, yes. Plants cannot fix nitrogen, yet some plants do not need nitrogen from the soil. This is because A. Yep. Bacteria will fix it for them. Okay.